when we have a clear expectation for the child, those tantrums tend to minimize. Now, it's pretty normal to have tantrums, and it's healthy to have tantrums. But the thing is, how we deal with the tantrums sometimes is what's also important.
Welcome back to the Madinat Mom Podcast, where real moms talk, experts share insights, and coffee fuels the chat so you can thrive in motherhood. I'm Nour, your host, and my guest today, Afia, is a mom of two, and she has spent over 15 years working in early childhood education with children ages 2 till 8. She now supports parents and caregivers in understanding the development of their children without the societal pressure, the comparison, and all the external noise, helping them raise emotionally secure, confident kids. Afia, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, I'm Afia, the founder of Kaynuna. I work as an early childhood consultant. And now, at the moment, I'm really thrilled to be starting this Kaynuna, where I'll be helping parents, as you said, to enjoy upbringing, basically, and as simply as that. And I'm doing this because it's honestly my passion to be with children, around children, to know more about children, especially in the early years. I feel it's like a magical world where we, if we really dive into their world, it's going to bring us a lot of joy. I'm sure some of the moms who are listening now might think, okay, what is she talking about? But trust me, it is really enjoyable journey once we understand how it happens. And from my education, it wasn't only enough to know how I can upbring my daughter, even when I had my ban 9 years ago. It's also the experience that I had with the children. So just understanding the overall of the child development made me aware of, okay, maybe I can step out of the classroom and start telling parents how to enjoy their journey with their children.
Where does the name come from, Kaynuna?
Kaynuna. So Kaynuna, it's an Arabic word, which means al-kayan, which is the inside of the person, like to find the real person from within. And this started with my daughter, just letting her realize what she likes, what she doesn't like, who she wants to be, and not what I want to dictate her to be. And that's where, that's what's going to make her special. That's what's going to make Saif also special, my son. So that's where it came from, Kaynuna.
You were in early childhood education you've been for over 15 years. And so it was before you became a mom.
Yes.
So how was that transition to motherhood for you, having been working in, the field of early childhood education?
To be honest, I was a little bit judgmental for moms, before I had my own daughter. But after I had ban, I continued working in the classroom. I was a teacher for a very long time in the early years. Believe it or not, but I started realizing how precious those little toes are for each parent. And that's what made me want to delve even more into the field of education. Honestly, it's a special one. It's a really nice field.
You just, as you're talking, the image of my baby's feet came up. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, those little feet. They give me, the energy I need. I never thought I would say this, by the way. But definitely, it's a whole world. But at what point did you feel like, okay, I need to go beyond the classroom and start working with parents as well?
So, those morning chit-chats with the teacher and the parent in the morning, it's really essential. And for me, Afia, I think this is a really important part of the child's day, where the teacher stands at the door, she welcomes the child, and then the parents would tell, especially on after a weekend, what happened, something major that happened, something major that they're worried about, because it shapes the whole dynamic of the day for the child in your, when it's your responsibility to be taking care of the child. And so I realized that so many parents, they ask, for me, it's like something that is obvious, but for so many parents, it's not obvious. And I'm not trying to be judgmental here, but it's only because I did this study of early childhood education. I've learned what it means for what are the expectations for children when they are 1 year old to when they are 2 year olds. Like there's a huge difference. And parents, they just don't understand this because they just didn't know any better, you know? So that's when I realized, okay, maybe I should step out of the classroom and start, not preaching, but helping parents understand what it is, behind, the books, just being practical at home, how to play, how to do things, the routines of the day, the really, really basic things that parents need to know before they start their journey with their children. And that's how it started all together, stepping out of the classroom, starting those workshops for parents, all of that.
Over the time that you spend in the classroom, you talk a lot about raising emotionally secure and confident kids.
Yes.
Over the time that you spend in the classroom, what are some patterns that you saw in kids that are confident and emotionally secure?
With children, honestly, it's the way I think, funny enough, but it all goes back to the dynamics of the house, the relationship between the child and the parent, whether it's a 2-parent house or a 1-parent house, it doesn't matter. As long as there is clear communication, there is strong communication, there is, that both-way communication also. I've realized, this is the recipe for it. They need to be able to understand, like the children, they need to be able to understand that they are an important, they play an important role in the parent's life. They're precious, they're taken seriously. Their ideas are not just, something the parent will just dismiss. It's actually a valid thought from the child when he speaks anything or says anything. So I think the dynamic in the house is really important. That solid foundation that the parents build with the child is really important, and it affects the confidence of the child.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about the solid foundation, because the first couple of years, I think, are the base for how the child continues to grow. Yes. What would you say are some of the most important things that parents should be focusing on when building that solid foundation?
For me, it's so when we say communication, it has more than one thing. It's the language and it's the body gestures. It's the trust also. It's like a whole combination of so many things. And for me, what I find really, really important also is the consistency. So with all that, you can come up with a solid relationship. So even when they're little, even when the child is like 1 week old, when he wakes up, because you want to feed, the way you look at him, the way you talk to him, the way you spend, that quality time, that's when it starts and it carries on. I've worked with a lady in one of those years where I was teaching. And we were teaching phonics, like we wanted to teach phonics. And she said, we don't know when the light bulb will go off. And, this stayed with me. I don't know why, but it just stayed with me because honestly, you don't know when your child is going to start understanding and comprehending the words that you're telling him, the dynamics that you're doing at home, the routines. So we start right when we want to start, we start right at the beginning, which for me, I think it's when you start building that relationship. And then that's when the trust goes, like it starts and it goes on. So I think it's right from the beginning.
Which brings me to my next question, because I think as moms, we feel sometimes like we're not doing enough, right? We're not present enough. We're not doing the right things. There's always this sense of doubt that stems from motherhood, that everything that we do in motherhood, because we know that every moment is important in our child's development. Where do you think that sort of fear comes from?
Just on the top of my head, I think it's comparison. We start comparing, like, what is it that my child might be missing because the other child, like, you can see the relationship or what other children are having, so you fear that maybe your child is missing. But honestly, every relationship is different than the other. So even if you have like 2 children, your relationship with one child is going to be completely different with the other one. It's just who you are. Just be present when you can be present, you know? A lot of stay-at-home moms, they're not present for their children because they feel that okay, we have the time. We will be doing this with them. We will talk to them. We will, do things that other working moms think that they're not doing enough with their children. But as a matter of fact, like if working moms, because a lot of working moms, they doubt themselves also. And a lot of working moms, they start fearing that they're not spending quality time, enough time. They're not giving their children enough, and sometimes they compensate that with buying things for their children. They compensate it in different ways. But I just want to say, as a mom, follow your guts, honestly. Follow your heart. It's a natural thing. Motherhood, parenthood is a natural thing. Don't forget this. And the other thing is, stop comparing with others. Just believe in what you're doing. And always double check the dynamics. So if you feel that your child is happy, then you're on the right track, and just try as much as you can to be present in the moment. So even, like, I always advise moms who work that even 20 minutes are more than enough to be with the child, to give him what you can. 20 minutes, it could be in the shower. 20 minutes, it could be in the drive, back to school, from school. 20 minutes could be bedtime story. It could be any time. Just choose a proper 20 minutes where you can turn your phone off, where you can, just be there for your child.
Yeah, I think working moms also have a lot of guilt, a lot of sense of, am I spending enough time with my kids? Am I doing enough by them? But yeah, you're right. The second time, being a second-time mom is very different than being a first-time mom. As a first-time mom, for me, I was really dedicated to motherhood, to being there for my daughter, and I feel like I tried to just soak up every moment. But then when you become a second-time mom, you want to soak up every moment, but you have another kid that also needs you.
How do you balance?
How do you balance? There's no fairness in balancing motherhood. But I always tell myself, my second child has a sister, right? So he has me, my husband, and a sister.
True.
He has an extra person there to love him and to be there for him and to entertain him, which is also very sweet. But you touched on comparison as well. Comparison, I always say comparison is the thief of joy, because no matter what you do, if you compare yourself, you're not going to be, happy. There's always going to be someone that's doing something differently in your head, maybe even better. And now it's the world of social media. We were just talking about social media before we got on the cameras. How do you think social media is affecting the way that we are parenting our kids?
Just because my work is going to rely a lot on social media, I'm not going to say, please drop social media.
You can't drop social media. That's you have to learn to live with it.
Yes. Honestly, before I started Kaynuna, as a work account on Instagram, I used to delete Instagram every now and then from my phone, just so that I can regulate my emotions and myself, and just remember who I'm really, who is Afia, But now I can't do that. But the thing is, when we compare, sometimes, by the way, we compare as mothers, we compare the effort we used to give to sibling number 1 or child number 1 to child number 2. And we always tend to forget that child number 1 is completely different than child number 2. So for instance, my daughter, Ban, doesn't like hugs and kisses, while Saif, he loves hugs and kisses, For me, when I realized that both of them, they don't like the same thing, and it's something that I thought it's natural that every child likes hugs and kisses, But no, they don't. So I'm trying to give Ban what she actually likes, while Saif asks for the hugs and kisses every time he comes back from school, He gets his emotional support from the hugs and kisses that I give him, while Ban wants me to talk to her and just sit next to her, Our shoulders need to be touching, but this is how she likes. So stop comparing, because there's no right way of doing things, with siblings. And then make it in the bigger picture. There's no way we can compare ourselves to other families. There's no way we can compare ourselves. Also, especially that the social media brings the world together, right? So we might be comparing ourselves to people who are not living in the same area or the same country, or they have different beliefs, different customs, It's all different. So just stick to the family that you're trying to create. Each child's Kaynuna, let's say, and take it from there. Just focus on this.
Yeah, and also in social media, you get the curated images of motherhood, right? You get what someone wants you to see, but there could be so much there that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
And then again, you're comparing yourself to not the entire image. It's just part.
A glimpse.
A glimpse, exactly. So Afia, you've been working with parents now.
Yeah.
What do you think is one misunderstanding that parents have about child development?
We expect too much from them sometimes.
From the kids?
From the kids. And vice versa. We expect too little from them. So in some cases, some parents, they treat their children as if they're adults already. They should be mature already. But they're still not there yet. Physically, mentally, they're not capable of being there. And sometimes what happens is a lot of parents, they treat their children as if they're still babies. They still, we have the assumption that they might not understand what we're saying. They might not understand where these emotions are coming from. Just the other day, a lady was asking me actually that she had a conversation with her husband in the morning. It didn't go well. And then she actually started yelling at her daughter for something really silly. Like she tossed something on the floor and it broke like a vase or some kind of, something that was on the coffee table. And the mom just went nuts, right? So she's like, do I just apologize for my daughter? I'm like, tell her everything. Tell her that you had a bad morning. Tell her that you had a conversation that didn't go your way. Now, the daughter doesn't need to know what conversation, but let her understand that you as a mom have those feelings and emotions where it will affect your behavior. It will affect the way you talk to your daughter. So, and she will understand, I'm pretty sure. And even if she doesn't understand the whole picture fully, then we kind of put her on the track of parents do make mistakes because our emotions sometimes overlap our thoughts. And so we need to regulate. We also, as adults, need to sometimes work on our emotions. We need to work on the way we talk to others. We need to, how to deal with problems, issues that come up. So we need to guide them in that way. So sometimes we overthink of our children, and sometimes we underthink, let's say. Yeah, so I think this is it. So if we understand as parents, if we understand the child development properly, we would know what to expect from our children. And again, because I talk a lot about Kaynuna and each child is different than the other, measure it with that. So if you have a reference, a framework of the child development, refer back to your child and just check, where is he at the moment? Is he able to understand me? Is he able to answer me when I talk to him? Up to which level is he at? You're the, not the evaluator, but you're the person who can really tell where your child is at. But you just need to compare, you need that reference, you need the framework so that you can compare properly and not over or under evaluate.
You're talking about milestones. And how rigid should these milestones be?
Not very. Give yourself space, or give the child actually the space of 6 months. 6 months in, 6 months out. It's okay. And if you feel that your child is not, like for instance, I'm going to talk about the child, if he can sit on his own or not when he's 6 months old. So if he cannot sit properly, then stop and go back to what you need to be doing before that, which means you need to expose him to more tummy time. You need to expose him to challenge him into sitting. You need to try to posture him in a way where he can be able to balance well with support at the beginning, without support. So just give him the time. So if he hits 6 months, he's still not sitting on his own, don't panic. Just give yourself some time and give him the time, and then start evaluating where is he at. Okay, what should I do before so that he can be able to sit properly on his own? So if you think about it, it's like guidelines where we follow so that we would know exactly where our child is at, and then give him 6 months in and out. Be flexible. Yeah.
And going back to the emotions that we were talking about, I think a lot of the term that sort of people associate with a 2-year-old is tantrum twos. We've all heard that.
Yeah.
And I get it, like kids this age, they have a lot of emotions, they have a lot of tantrums, but I also think it's such a beautiful age because their character is starting to develop. I think they become funny. We get taken by the idea of, oh my God, they're going to start having tantrums. How am I going to handle that? Can you break down tantrums for us? What are tantrums trying to communicate?
So tantrums, they come they happen because sometimes the vocab, the comprehension doesn't really click for the child in his brain. I'm not going to use scientific terms because it's, like it's not my field. But for us, tantrums as child consultants, it's basically when we have children on certain routines, when we have a clear expectation for the child, those tantrums tend to minimize. Now, it's pretty normal to have tantrums, and it's healthy to have tantrums. It might happen at 2-year-old, it might happen later on in life. But the thing is, how we deal with the tantrums sometimes is what's also important. So if the tantrum happens, it's also like a test sometime. We kind of need to understand why it's happening, how often it's happening, because sometimes the child is overtired. Sometimes the child doesn't know what to expect, so he's emotionally unstable, Sometimes we think that there's insecurity because maybe the child doesn't know if the mom's going to be present, if the mom's not going to be at home when he goes back home, if the mom is going to be at work, there's no certainty. Sometimes, different reasons for tantrums, but the most important thing is how to handle those tantrums right from the beginning. So if a tantrum happens, we just explain in a very quiet voice what we want him to understand. Like if, let's say we go to the supermarket and he makes a tantrum, okay, because he wants to buy whatever he wants. We go back down on our knees. We try to talk to the child that I told you can buy one item and you can have it after lunch, for instance, and you can have a healthy snack. Like you can choose also a healthy snack that you can have now. Those two. And you just walk away. And that's remember at first we talked about the consistency, and this needs to happen every single time we go to the supermarket. And the extra thing that we need to do is before we step into the supermarket the next time, we explain the rules again for the child that, remember, we're going to go into the supermarket. Remember, you can choose one thing that you can have after lunch as dessert, sweet, anything. And you can have whatever, a healthy snack now. So it could be a banana or an apple from the, like from that section. And so before we step in, we start preparing them because we know that the last 2 times we had an episode in the supermarket, a tantrum. So we prepare them and then we stick to what we want them to do. We stick to those rules. So let's say we go in, he starts running a tantrum, then we remind them with the rules and that's it, we walk away. And please, 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 for all the moms and the dads who have, those episodes in the supermarket, please don't worry about the people in the supermarket. They've all been there. They've all done that. Or they might not. That's why they get to judge you. But just focus on your child. Just focus on your technique and you'll be okay.
Yeah, we've all been there. That's for sure. Whether it's in the supermarket, in the parking lot, in the mall, we've all been there. I think as parents, we don't, we just look at each other and we're like, oh, I feel for you. You know, I was there yesterday. Yeah. But as you said, there's people that don't quite understand, but it's okay.
Just ignore the look. Just don't look at anybody, honestly. Yeah. I find it very helpful. Just look on the floor and ignore other parents, other grandparents, other workers in the supermarket.
I think it's just a lot of big emotions that are coming out. And as you said, sometimes the way that you manage those big emotions can either make the tantrum last longer or it can sort of help calm them down. But what I think is so hard for parents is being able to stay calm during a tantrum, right? Yeah. Because I know that it reflects on them. I know that if you provide that sense of calmness and security, they feel it. But if you start getting anxious and nervous and why are you crying? Stop crying. They also feel that and it sort of makes the tantrums worse. Yeah. Do you have any advice for moms that are trying to juggle tantrums?
So basically tantrums, as I said, they're going to happen anyway.
It's part of their development.
Exactly. It's part of the child's understanding of who he is, his capability of expressing himself, his language, his words, even his emotions. So it's part of his development. So it's nothing wrong that you did. It's nothing that you've missed. But just stay consistent. That's it. Be clear. And I'm sure by now you would know when your child is going to do the tantrum. So if it's either they're overtired, it's either when things are not clear for them, like what to expect, what they're going to do, what's going to happen, who they're going to meet, or sometimes it's a pressure because we want them to say hi and hello to I don't know who, so we squeeze them into so much pressure. And that's when the tantrum then explodes. So it might not be in the moment. It could have something happened in the morning, but now he's just, exploding. And so just remember that it's normal. Just remember that you can handle it and you will be able to handle it. Just remember that your child still loves you and he needs you to be calm for him. And he'll be okay. Sometimes we also fear because we fear of losing control. We fear of losing our child. Like, what if this happens and he bangs his head in the floor? Or what if he, does this and, I lose control of the situation, the whole situation. It's okay. Nothing's wrong's going to happen. If you feel that he's going to bang his head in the floor, just be there, put your hand, and later on, when he's calm, when he's quiet, before he sleeps, the best moment that you're connecting with him, explain to him that you always fear that he will hurt himself if he bangs his head. So give him the alternative. So instead of banging his head, tell him you can box your hands, Just give him a way to release his anxiety, to release his stress, something that is not harmful. I think, but make sure you also prepare him before. And that's it.
We talked about confident kids and what confidence in kids looks like. What does emotional security or emotional safety look like in kids?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's just them being able to express what they want or what they need, or they can regulate their emotions. So some children, they're really good linguistically. So they can tell you, Mama, I don't like going to the park because there's this boy that bothers me. Or, they express. Linguistically, they're capable. But some children are not capable. They go to the park, but they don't know why they don't like it anymore, So you just need to walk them through it. And so just find you will be able to find the way they can express themselves. Now, sometimes if they feel angry or they feel sad or they feel overjoy, those are also emotions, the positive ones are also emotions that we forget to talk about sometimes. We kind of need to teach them how to, express those emotions. So if they can express some of those emotions, whether by drawing, whether by using their words, whether by giving hugs, this means that they're on the right track of being socially, emotionally balanced, or not the word, secure, let's say. They can express themselves, they can talk about them, they know what's that feeling that's happening. But sometimes as parents, we also forget to teach our kids the word with that feeling. So a lot of kids, they feel jealousy, but we forget to tell the children, you're feeling jealous. So that we can label the feeling with a term, and then we can teach them how to deal with jealousy, how to deal with that emotion that is not a nice emotion, And so socially balanced kids, like social emotional balance, it could come in different ways. Again, you will feel it with your child, and you will feel it with the way they express, the way they talk about it, the way they regulate their emotions, whether it takes them time or no. This is how I think is your way of knowing.
Your baseline.
Yeah, your baseline.
You mentioned that with Kaynuna you do workshops for parents. What do the workshops look like?
So I do workshops for parents and for teachers in the early years. The ones for parents, so we talk about play, because I think play is a key to teach children so many things. Sometimes we tend to underestimate play. I give also workshops about the fundamentals of parenting, like what is it that I'm doing with my child? They don't come with catalogs, right? So what is it that I need to focus on as a parent so that my child will be, like following the milestones, the developmental, like he's developmentally progressing as he should be, securely, and we're also enjoying our journey together. We're making nice memories, not only like tantrums and handling tantrums and all those bad emotions and negativity. So those workshops, they tend to help parents understand what is child development. They tend to give parents those tips of how to, engage with their children. Yeah.
Where can parents find you?
On Kaynuna edu on Instagram. I'm still working on my website. It's soon going to be fully developed. It's also kaynunaedu.com. And I think on my phone.
Great. We'll add the links in the show notes below. And Afia, you talked about play. I know that you have a freebie for us. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So for the moms who don't like to give tablets or phones while they wait in the car, while they wait for the sibling to finish their activity, there are a lot of activities that you can actually do with your child so that you would enjoy your time. He wouldn't feel that he's really waiting and, like he's emotionally stressed. And so I will be handing these to Nour, and Nour will post them for you. Yeah, enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Afia. We'll share also the link to the downloadable in the show notes below. Afia, if you would say one thing that parents can start doing at home today to help their children thrive, what would that be?
Connect. And by connect, just build that, relationship on honesty, trust, just be who you are so that your child will understand you more. It's like they're also human beings. It's a relationship that you have at home. Invest in it,
Great. And to end the episode, what is one piece of advice that you would give to moms out there that are listening to this discussion?
Enjoy your journey. It goes by really quickly without you noticing. Build memories, honestly, with your children, and enjoy your time. Listen to your heart also. There are so many of us out there, on social media. Listen to the ones that make sense to you, honestly. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Afia. Thank you for the discussion. I think it was a very insightful one, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Honestly, that was great pleasure. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You can always reach us on contact@Madinat Mom. You can reach me on www.madinatmom.com or on our Instagram @Madinat Mom. Until next time, take care of yourselves as fiercely as you take care of your little ones.